What is up, guys? Doomwake here. Welcome to another modern video on the channel. As always, before we continue, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. We've had a ton of support on the channel over the past couple of days, ever since the release of Modern Horizons 2. So it seems like you guys are enjoying the content, and I'm happy for that. I really appreciate that. And also let me know in the comment section below, have you been playing any Modern with the new set? What decks have you been playing? Have you been enjoying the format? I know that Urza Saga has kind of been a cloud on the format over the past couple of days as people realize the full power level and potential of that card. But for the most part, I've been having a ton of fun. This is the most fun that I've had playing Modern, probably since... I mean, yeah, the video we uploaded the other day was with Affinity. I would say this is probably the most fun I've had playing Modern since Mox Opal was banned. So I am a huge fan of this set, and I'm really, really happy what it has done to the format. There may be a couple of cards in the set that might deem to be a little bit too powerful down the road, but for now, let's just enjoy it for what it is. You know, I've heard a lot of ban talk, and I don't really enjoy ban talk, you know, in the first couple of days. I kind of talk facetiously about cards being too powerful and is this too good or something like that. But it's more so just in joking. But in any case, today, as you can see, we have everybody's favorite modern 1-mana 1/1 Delver's Secrets, and by modern I mean Legacy. Delver's kind of been a butt of many jokes in modern for the past couple of years. Every time somebody plays a Delver deck in Modern, people just kind of laugh at it, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was always missing something. So we have quite a few new additions from Modern Horizons 2, so hopefully those new additions can sort of make Delver, or put Delver back on the map. I don't know if it ever was on the map, but... But again, for those of you who play Legacy, you're very familiar with the card Delver of Secrets. In Legacy, you have cards like Brainstorm, Ponder, Daze, Force of Will, and Wasteland to a lesser extent. But all these cards really power up Delver and make the 1-mana card, it flips more often, you have more mana denial, and, you know, you have more cards that punish them for, you know, playing with more expensive cards or combo decks or non-basic lands. It's a little bit different in this deck. So we are playing Delver of Secrets. We are still at its core, we are a Delver tempo deck, but the cards that we're surrounding it are a little bit different. So our creatures here, I'll put those over to the side. Here. So these are our threats. We have Delver of Secrets, obviously 1-mana 1/1 upkeep. If you can flip a card if it's an instant or sorcery spell, you transform it, it flips into a 3/2 flyer. So if you can consistently transform Delver, it's a 1-mana 3/2 flyer. Very powerful card. Dragon's Rage Channeler. This is a new addition from Modern Horizons 2. So it's a red mana for a 1/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil one, which means look at the top card of your library. You can choose to keep it or put it into your graveyard. And then if you turn on Delirium, which is if you have 4 or more different card types among cards in your graveyard, it is now +2/+2, has flying, and attack sheets combat. So, very akin to Delver of Secrets in the sense that if you can actively turn this on, it is a 1-mana 3-power flying creature. So we have, you know, essentially, I'm not going to call this Delver of Secrets, but we have 8 creatures that are effectively 1-mana 3-power flying. So that's, you know, kind of how we get the beatdowns going. And then another new addition from Modern Horizons 2, Murktide Regent. So a lot of people have been comparing this to the blue Tombstalker. For those of you who don't know, Tombstalker is 6 black, 5/5 flying delve, right? So this is sort of the blue Tombstalker. 5 blue, 3/3 flying delve, but it has more text. Enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each instant and sorcery card exiled with it. So that means if you exile 5 instants and sorceries and pay 2 blue mana, you've now spent 2 blue mana for a 8/8 flying creature. It's a pretty good rate, so. And then the next ability on it doesn't come up too often, but they sort of stack. So basically, whenever an instant or sorcery card leaves your graveyard, put a counter on it. Which means if you cast one, mill over, or cast some more spells, and then play a second one, your initial one will get pumped. That ability probably doesn't matter in, I would say, a large percentage of games. but it is something that is, it's what we call free real estate. It's additional text on the card that may or may not come up, but you're not really playing it for that ability. But yeah, just, again, 8 1-mana aggressive flying threats, another aggressive 2-mana flying threat. So that's kind of our threat base. So we're basically, what our deck is trying to do is play a cheap creature, and then protect it with Force of Negation, Subtlety, Counterspell, and then, so that's kind of our Counterspell package. And then we also have our Cantrip package, and we also have removal. So I'll kind of just go over these briefly, what they're doing for the deck. Subtlety is it is a creature, but I didn't want to put it in the creature slot because most of the time you're probably not hardcasting this. 3/3 flash flying, another new card from the set from Modern Horizons 2. When it ETBs, choose up to one target creature spell or planeswalker spell. Its owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library, so akin to something like Aether Gust if you're used to that. They get to choose whether they want to put it on top or bottom, and you can exile a blue card from your hand to evoke it. So you can cast it for free, in quotation marks, by exiling a blue card. I don't know. I copied this deck list. I made a couple of small changes. I copied this deck list from a 5.0 Modern League deck list dump. Oh, I think the deck dump was posted yesterday, and I saw this deck list with Delver. Wanted to try it. I'm not huge on Subtlety, just in a general sense. I think that was during previous season one of the more overrated cards, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. It is kind of cool in this deck because, again, you're really just trying to play a creature and protect it, so just having free spells is good. Like, for example, I know that there's not a lot of creatures or planeswalkers that deal with your creatures, right? When you're protecting your creature, you want a card like Daze or a card like Force of Will, so you can counter any spell, any removal spell, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Path to Exile, Sword Splashers, and Legacy Delver. But Subtlety doesn't do that. It only counters creatures or planeswalkers. Now, the creatures and planeswalkers that you're ideally looking to target with Subtlety, I would imagine, are Wrenn and 6, because it can ping a Delver or a Channeler. Teferi Teferi Time Raveler, because it can bounce your creature. So those are, I think, the premium targets for Subtlety. It's also good against the new Asmo decks. It's actually especially good against Asmo because if they have to discard a card in order to turn the Asmo on, which means that if they're discarding, let's say, a Street Wraith, right? If they cycle a Street Wraith and play an Asmo and you Subtlety their Asmo, they might not have another way to discard a card the following turn, because they're limited on that. Now, that changes with Underworld Cookbook, because all they have to do is tap the Cookbook to discard a card to play the Asmo, and then as long as they just have another card in their hand, they can play the Asmo next turn. And then we have our Counterspell package, 4 copies of Counterspell, a new card from Modern Horizons 2, which is a reprint. When I was building my initial list of Delver, or when I was theory crafting my initial Delver of Secrets list, I didn't have Counterspell in them, because I wasn't a huge fan of having to hold up 2 mana. It also plays especially awkward with Expressive Iteration and Serum Visions, the sorcery speed cantrips, because especially with Iteration, you're very, I guess not very rarely, but it's kind of difficult to get up to 4 mana with this deck. So in order for you to Expressive Iteration and hold up Counterspell, you have to get to 4 mana, or I guess turn 3, you can Iteration, hit your 4th land drop, play land, hold up Counterspell. But when I was theorizing the list, it always felt like it would be too clunky. But, the person 5-0'd with 4 copies, so we'll go ahead and try it out. And then our cantrips, Thought Scour, Serum Visions, pretty straightforward. Serum Visions can scry to flip Delver of Secrets. Thought Scour is, you don't get to look at cards with Delver of Secrets per se, but it's especially nice for a couple of reasons. One, let's say you Delver of Secrets and you look at the top card of your library and it's a land card that you may or may not need. If you don't need the land card and you have Thought Scour, you can just, still in your upkeep, after the Delver trigger, Thought Scour yourself, mill the land, get a fresh look at a card. And it also is especially good because it fuels Murktide Regent, so that's why we're playing Thought Scour. And then Mishra's Bauble, which might look kind of unassuming here, but it does two main things. One, it is an artifact card type for Dragon's Rage Channeler, which is pretty important because you're trying to turn on Delirium. And 2, there's actually a really neat trick you can do with Delver of Secrets. So if you, let's say, turn 1, you play a land, you play a Delver of Secrets, you play a Mishra's Bauble, you pass the turn. Your opponent, let's just say, for posterity's sake, let's just say they play a tap land and pass. So on their end step, you get to bauble yourself. look at the top card. So let's say you bobble yourself, you look at the top card, say it's a land. You then untap. On your upkeep, you now have 2 triggers to put on the stack. You get to choose which order the triggers go on the stack first. The Delver trigger and the Bauble draw card trigger. So what you do is you put the Delver trigger on the stack first, then the Bauble trigger, because you know the top card is not a spell that flips Delver. You draw the card off the Bauble, right? Bauble trigger resolves. Now the Delver trigger resolves, and you get a fresh look at another spell. So Bauble plus Delver essentially gives you 2 looks at flipping a spell, which is kind of cool. And also, again, it just plays very nicely with Dragon's Rage Channeler. It's a 0 mana card that lets you surveil, again, looking for Delver flips. It's also another card type for Channeler, and it's also a free card to put into the graveyard for Regent. So, while Bauble is not an instant or sorcery, I think it plays very well with all 12 of your creatures that it is necessary to play 4 copies. And then our removal package, 4 Lightning Bolt, very obvious. We're a blue-red deck. We're an aggressive deck. Play 4 bolts. That's it. Unholy Heat is another interesting one. So this is yet another new addition. This deck has a lot of new Modern Horizons 2 cards. 1 red mana instant. 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Well, obviously you wouldn't play it for that. Obviously, if you can shock something, that's not bad, but you're playing it for the Delirium half. So Delirium, again, similar to Channeler, means if you have 4 card types among cards in your graveyard, the Delirium is turned on. And if you have Delirium, it deals 6 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Now, I got that it doesn't go upstairs, and that is, not the best, but it kills a wide array of things, up to and including Primeval Titan. Like, imagine just paying 1 mana and killing a Primeval Titan. Maybe you don't have a counterspell up, or something like that. So, if we're playing the Baubles and we're kind of going in on the Delirium stuff with Channeler, I think it makes a lot of sense to play this card over something like Tarfire or Flame Slash, I guess other removal spells of choice. Burst Lightning. I'm trying to think of what other options there would be. Wild Slash. Wild Slash might not be bad with Regent, but yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense even though it doesn't go upstairs, because the option of dealing 6 damage. Also, if your opponent plays like Teferi Time Raveler, because this deck has a lot of instants in it, it's very weak to Teferi Time Raveler. So if they go Teferi Time Raveler and plus to play around Lightning Bolt, and you have Delirium, you can just 1 mana straight up kill their Teferi, which is pretty huge too. So that is the main deck, and then our mana base, fairly straightforward. We got a couple of Fiery Islets here. They're decent. If you flood out, I think that, I don't know if maybe this deck should only play 1 copy. I think the second one might be a little too aggressive. The first copy is usually free. The second one is, in a deck with 17 lands, is where you start to, question, is that worth it? But we'll go ahead and try the 2 copies. And then the sideboard, go ahead and move this over a little bit so I can show you guys the sideboard. So 4 Soul Guide Lantern, we're starting there. Now, there's a couple of reasons why we are not playing Surgical Extraction, because the most obvious thing would be, well, why aren't we playing Surgical Extraction? Because it flips Delver of Secrets, unlike Soul Guide Lantern. A couple things about Soul Guide Lantern. One, it replaces itself. So there are going to be draws, especially against the new graveyard decks that have Hollow One, Asmo. Sometimes they put Feasting Trollkin into play on turn 2, and your Soul Guide Lantern is too slow if you draw it the turn after. So there are going to be situations where your graveyard hate is either too slow or just not good enough, right? And in those situations, the ability to cycle it, I think, is way more relevant than something like Surgical Extraction. And also, Soul Guide Lantern is another card type for our 7 Delirium cards, so that is pretty relevant too. So all those things considered, I think I prefer Soul Guide to Tormod's Crypt. We obviously don't want to play Relic of Progenitus because we're using our own graveyard for Murktide, Regent, and Channeler and Unholy Heat, so we don't want to play Relic. Crypt doesn't draw a card. Surgical doesn't draw a card. I think the closest debate is between that and Soul Guide and Surgical, because Surgical flips Delver. But I like the ability to draw a card and put a more unique card type in our graveyard. We have more instants in our decks than artifacts. So I think all those things considered, I am willing to play 4 copies of Soul Guide, and I agree with that decision. And then we have 3 Blood Moon with the Resurgence of Amulets, because Amulet got Urza Saga, which finds more copies of Amulet. I think Blood Moon is at an all-time high right now because there's so many Urza Saga decks going around. And it also just kind of like it's lights out against the zoo decks because they only usually play one basic land and you can kill their mana creatures. So it's lights out against zoo, it's lights out against the amulet. Those are two of the more popular decks, so it makes a lot of sense to me. I like Blood Moon. And obviously the Tron argument, E-Tron and things of that nature. 2 copies of a Breed. Good against E-Tron because it kills Chalice of the Void, which is a huge problem, and it also kills what's the other one? Snaring Bridge. So Chalice and Snaring Bridge. I missed out. I didn't go over the forces, but more counter magic for the main deck Force of Negation, because we have a 3rd Force of Negation here as well. Good against combo decks, like people that are trying to cast Living End, or people that are trying to cast Cascade into, what's the other one? Crashing Footfalls. So it's good against those decks. Brazen Borrower, kind of just a decent catch-all. You know, I always like the first copy of Borrower in these decks because there are just so many situations where 2 mana bounce a permanent is an acceptable rate if your opponent's, again, Chalice of the Void and Snaring Bridge, stuff like that. And, you know, even when the bouncing a permanent half is not good, a 3 mana 3/1 Flying Flash is not the worst rate. So, just always a nice card to have. 3 Aether Gust for the aforementioned Amulet decks, as well as, you know, your Mono Red Prowess, if people still play that. It's also good against the Asmo decks because you can Aether Gust a Feasting Troll King after they sacrifice a bunch of resources to put it into play, which is pretty good. And then we have, last but not least, a Flusterstorm, just another nice catch-all. Good against combo, good against control, good against discard spell decks. So just a nice card to have access to. So, that is the deck list. Now, without further ado, I cannot wait to get into this. We're going to play some Delver of Secrets in Modern. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you back in just a little bit for round number 1. Alrighty, YouTube, we are back here for round number 1. We have a 1-lander. However, we have a cantrip, we're on the draw, and we have some, I guess we'll say, quote-unquote, protection with Subtlety. Nice thing about Subtlety is it goes to the graveyard, so it's a kind of a cool creature, or a creature type for Dragon's Rage right now. I'm going to keep the hand. Not sure if I could. Or, not sure if I should, excuse me, but I'm going to keep the hand. Alright, Plains Go. What does Plains Go mean? Not sure. Just going to get Steam Vents. Play a Channeler. Yes. Pretty sure I'm going to Subtlety almost anything they play, especially like a Thalia or something along those lines. Is this a removal spell? Can't Subtlety that. Subtlety, again, notably only hits creatures and planeswalkers. Alright, do I want a Thought Scour first, or do I want a Serum Visions first? It's probably better to Serum Visions first, because I kind of, if I miss here, I kind of need to hit lands next turn. Alright, I don't want that. I just need lands. Definitely don't want its second region. I will keep an Islet, though. Alright, missing on land kind of stinks. We do have a land next turn, though. The issue is we have 2 counterspells against Aether Vial, which is not good. So hopefully they give us a target for this Subtlety. Although if it's Skyclave, they're just going to put it on top. Huh. Kind of think I have to Subtlety this. Oh, it doesn't target until it comes into play. Izzet Battlefield. Okay. I have not played with this card yet, so I'm used to like Force of Will, Force of Negation, where you just target the spell. But yeah, I'm just going to pitch the second counterspell. The second counterspell kind of stinks anyways, so. And now we're on Sorcery Creature Land for Channeler, so we can turn it on next turn with Thought Scour. And there's kind of no reason to hold up Counterspell because they have a Vial anyways. Wish I could play a Murktide Regent this turn. So casting Iteration doesn't really accomplish much because the only way I'd be able to get 2 cards off it is if I hit a Bauble. So it's just a question of, do I Scour and get in more damage, or do I hold up Counterspell? Given that, what did they do with the Stoneforge? Let me just take a look. Let me actually expand this too. They put it on top. Okay, so they're just going to tick this up to 2 and Vial in the Stoneforge. I guess there's a chance that they cast Skyclave Apparition, but they would probably just hold it. I'm gonna not hold up Counterspell here. Oh, why didn't I Thought Scour them? I should have just Thought Scoured them. I completely forgot that I could do that. Yeah, I should have Thought Scoured them. That was really bad. Because I don't want them drawing the Stoneforge Mystic. I guess I'll just do it now. And then next turn I can go... Yeah, that's actually not bad. I'll top that. Playing with new cards. I definitely should have Thought Scoured them with the first one, because then I could have Thought Scoured them, drawn the Delver, played the Delver, and that would have worked out so much better for me. They kept the Vial on 2. Now they have Skyclave. Archon of Emeria. Well, that's kind of okay for me. Alright, we'll go to attack first. Assume they're not blocking. So they go to 13. Now what? Do we play Regent? We can't play 2 spells because of the Archon. The Islet would come into play tapped anyways. I think I'm just going to play Regent. It's also something that doesn't die to Skyclave Apparition. Alright, so our card types, excuse me, are land, creature, sorcery, artifact, instant. So that means I have to exile 5 cards and I want to keep 4 types. So if we just take a look here, kind of just walk through this a little bit. Now I want to exile the most amount of spells to pump the Regent, but I also want to keep 4 types. So how do I do that? I have 1, 2, 3 instants, so I can exile 2 instants. I only have 1 sorcery, right? But I have 4 types even without the sorcery because I have land, creature, artifact, instant. Yeah, that makes sense, right? And then we just exile 2 creatures. And then we keep 4 types. So we keep 4 types and get a 6/6 by land pass. Now it's not representing lethal next turn, but even if I exiled 2... Or I guess I can only exile 1 other spell, because I only had a Thought Scour. So even if I exile the Thought Scour, I put a counter on the Regent, but I shrink the Channeler by 2. So I think it just ends up being a lot worse. Now if they have Path to Exile, hopefully they cast it main phase. Although we have Path to Exile covered in both ways, right? If they cast on their turn, we have Force. If not, we can either hardcast Force or play Counterspell. So we'll just attack first. And I'm probably just going to play a Delver, because I can still hold up Counterspell and then Force of Negation on their turn. Alright, they're chumping the Regent. Maybe they have Flicker Wisp? Blink the Archon? No. Well, the issue is if I play Delver and they have Path now, they can cast it, right? But if I don't play Delver, I don't have Lethal. I think I'm going to play the Delver just so I can present Lethal. Oh no, they chump with the Archon, right? So it's no longer in play. So I guess now they can Violent a second Archon and have Path? Is that their plan? Yeah, it is. Unless they just don't have Path. Alright. Vial on 3. They're keeping it on 3. So it seems like they're just, I guess, mono-white taxes with some sack lands. Alright, let's see if we can flip Delver to force a trade. I don't think I'm going to sack the Islet end of turn. Bolt would be nice. I'll take a Force of Negation. Alright, attack with everything. They now have to block, and we still have counterspells up, so I think we're in a good spot. And it's a Skyclave. Skyclave the Channeler. Eldrazi Displacer. Maybe we're not in a good spot. So they blink the Regent. Maybe take 6. Maybe trade. They are going to trade. I like that trade, I think. I think that trade's good for me. Alright, we'll let that happen. So I could play Iteration into Delver and not hold up Counterspell. Or I could just play Delver and hold up everything. I think it's just better to play Delver and hold up everything. Their mana's kind of... Maybe that's wrong, though, because their mana's kind of choked up with Displacer. Like, they just have to hold up Displacer the rest of the game. So maybe it was worth it to cast the Iteration there. You just go Iteration into Delver and only hold up Force. Because most of the cards that I would want to counterspell, they can just put into play with Vial, right? Flicker Wisp, Skyclave Apparition, things of that nature. So that was probably just worse than casting Iteration. Alright, another flip here. Lightning Bolt, that should probably seal it up. Let's go to attacks first. See what they do. This is a lethal attack. We're making them act first, basically. Alright, that's fine. So now if the best they can do is exile a creature, take 6, go to 1, and then I bolt them. So, well, I guess they could have drawn Skyclave, right? So they blink something, Skyclave something else, take 3, go to 4. Or they just take lethal, because they know we have bolts. Alright, game number 2. So a slight misstep on turn number, I think it was turn 3, when we didn't Thoughtscour them to mill over that Stoneforge. At least with the first one. We ended up casting Thoughtscour on them anyways, but doing it on the first one, like before we Thoughtscoured ourselves, would have allowed us to play Delver, so. Okay, Force of Negation is no bueno, because they have Aether Vial. The argument of keeping in Force for Aether Vial is just, I don't like that argument, because it means you have to have Force of Negation in your hand for it to do anything, because if you don't have it in your opening hand and they have Vial, it essentially does nothing for the rest of the game. There's some argument for, Path to Exile and things like that, but I don't think it's worth it. Blood Moon, no bueno. Soul Guide, bad. Gust, bad. Fluster or Borrower. I probably want the Borrower. Could also shave a counterspell because they're bad against Vials. Just bring in 1 Borrower. I think I like this. Let's do that. Alright, game number 2, on the draw. Let's see what Ley and Line of the Boys brings to the table. We have a turn 1 Delver. We get to do the Delver Bobble trick. I keep this. We get to go Steam Vents, Delver, Bobble, their end step, Bobble ourselves, get a second look at Delver. I could Channeler Bobble first, but I think it's higher upside the Delver Bobble first. I'm gonna save the Scalding Tarn. Yeah. I think there's some merit to cracking the Tarn first, but I can always just crack and then Serum Visions. Or I can, crack Channeler into Visions, something like that. Alright, Bobble myself. So the top card is Unholy Heat, so I want to resolve the Delver trigger first. Draw the Unholy Heat, that's a pretty good one. We'll attack first, see what they do. Should have played my land first. But if they had Path, they should have Pathed on upkeep, so. Or Draw Step, excuse me. So they don't have Path. Given that they're mono white taxes, I think I'm just getting another Steam Vents and leaving all the basics in my deck for Path to Exile and Field of Ruin purposes. So now let's go Channeler. Given that they have Vial, I'm not going to hold up Counterspell. I just want to put max pressure on here because I can cast these two. So this is Sorcery, Artifact, Land. This is a 4th card type. But I can just cast the Bolt next turn, and I really want to draw the Bolt, so I'm going to draw the Bolt. And I think I want a 3rd land, but not a 4th land. It's 3 types. I'm still going to be short on casting the Regent next turn. It's kind of close. Yeah, I'm going to bottom the island and top the islet, and then pass. And then next turn we can fire off a Bolt to turn on the Channeler and hold up Counterspell. So basically, if they don't do something relevant this turn, I feel like it's pretty hard to lose this game. They're just passing. I'm in. Alright, play this. Attack. Attack first in case they vial something in, and then we can bolt whatever they vial in. This could be a Thalia. Stoneforge Mystic. Well, they know about Lightning Bolt, so I will let them block the Channeler. Because they know we have Bolt for them. Right, ends up being the same thing. Yeah, I was going to say, they know about the Bolt. I guess they also know about the Unholy Heats. Is there any consideration to saving the Unholy Heat? I think there is. Now that I have Delirium turned on, I can just bolt the Stoneforge so they can't put Batterskull into play, and then if they hardcast Batterskull, I can then Unholy Heat something. Just counter this? Yeah, just counter this. We could have a second one. I'll top that. Top that. Definitely keeping it Braid when we know they have Batterskull. Although we have Counterspell anyway, so maybe we just don't care about that. Because, like, hardcast Batterskull is not good against Counterspell. I don't know. Not sure. White. Is this a Path to Exile? Skyclave? Thalia. Thalia's probably not going to cut it. I will attack first. They're 11, so they have to have something here. Or not. Alright, pass. I mean, they know about the Unholy Heat. They don't know about the Counterspell. Alright, Vial on 3 is fine. Eldrazi Displacer. They have no colorless mana. The last card's Batterskull. I'm just gonna kill it now. Because if they draw colorless mana, they can exile the Delver, and it comes back as a Delver of Secrets, so then if my top card wasn't a spell, I wouldn't be able to flip it. I guess I could also upkeep Unholy Heat the Thalia and then get another thing for Delver, but yeah, they're just off it. That felt pretty easy. I don't know if it's just the product of being a very good matchup, but this deck felt pretty good. I'm really excited to continue the league with this deck, so want to know, hope you enjoyed the games. See you back in just a little bit for round number 2. Alrighty, YouTube, we are back here for round number 2. We have, I think, a keeper here. Playing some Blue Red Delver, playing against Big Dan Teague, Mr. Sullivan himself. Sullivan's been pretty big on prowess. Ooh, maybe they're playing the mirror? Nice little mirror match action. Well, we're both going to have the same start. I don't have a bauble quite yet, but we shall see. They baubled me. Makes sense. They chose to keep the card. Worth noting. Not a ton of information we can gain off of that, but... Alright, so maybe they're just playing Prowess with Channeler. Yeah, it looks like Prowess with Channeler. Because they probably wouldn't play Swiftspear in their Delver deck. Maybe they would. Not sure. I would imagine Prowess is kind of a tough matchup. It really depends on how much removal we draw and whether or not we can get Regent online as fast as possible. Because their removal spells is all damage-based, outside of Vapor Snag. So I have the option to... I guess I just play Delver and hold up Thought Scour. I feel kind of behind this game. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I can go tap land Regent next turn. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, down to 2 cards. Expressive Iteration, most likely. Metamorphose, sure. Could be a Stormwing. Could just be Metamorphose into Iteration. Red, not Stormwing. Just have 2 red spells. They definitely don't have Lob of Dark, because they would have darted the Delver instead of bolting it. But hopefully we can take over with Regent. Maybe. Ideally, I just want to hit, like, 2 or 3 two spells off the Thought Scour. I know that's kind of asking for a lot, but... Alright, 13. Then Fetch to 12, get a basic. Thought Scour myself. Alright, so we're going to play a 4/4. I guess I could Serum Visions into Regent to make a bigger Regent. We do end up having to take 2 damage, but I think it's worth it. Definitely bottom the Delta. I think I don't want Channeler here. Yeah. Alright, so I want to exile all the spells, which is only 2 of them. And then 1, 2, split the other creature type, split the other card types. So we have a 5/5. That's not bad. Ideally, we draw another Thought Scour. That's probably our best draw. They have Vapor Snag, Channeler into Snag. I mean, I will take this trade. Be instant creature. Yeah, if they have Bolt, they would still only have 2 types. And the trade's good because I have a second region anyways, right? Yeah, it's fine. They're down to 1 card. They won't necessarily be able to turn these on because they still only have instant plus creature. Oh, I guess they have instant creature artifact, so they just need to hit a land because they have the Islet to turn it on. Okay, never mind. Unfortunately, we can't play Regent unless we iteration into a fetch land. Or I could just kill their 2 things. It's probably better to just kill their 2 things now. Stay at 10. Killing their things now before they can sack the Islet, because if I wait, they can sack Islet in response and mutagenic growth to save it. So I think this is better. And now we can just play a huge region and hopefully take over with that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. Pass turn. They have 1 card left. I feel pretty good about this game. So maybe this matchup is favorable just because we're trading resources, but we just have the biggest thing. Would not like to reveal Bauble. I could cast Iteration. I guess I will. Kind of sucks if I don't hit a land off of it, which I didn't. So I guess I'll put Counterspell in my hand. Bottom this, exile the Thought Scour. Thought Scour myself. Play Bauble. Subtlety is a really good draw because now I have Storming Entity covered for a turn. Probably should have Baubled on my turn so I get an extra thing to pitch to Subtlety. They have a Soulscar Mage, which there's actually no point in Subtletying because they can just sack the island and replay it. So I think I let that go. What is this? That I will not let go. Alright, Subtlety that. Which I assume they're going to top. Okay, never mind. Alright, game number 2 against Izzet Prowess. Aethergust's pretty good. Force is okay. Borrower's okay. Abrade is good. What is bad? I think Subtlety is good. Flusterstorm also might be good. These cards are potentials. Just trying to figure out what we want to cut. I actually think Counterspell is not where we want to be, because we're going to be bringing in Aethergust and Abrade, and we can't afford to have that many 2-mana cards. And a lot of their cards are so cheap and just play naturally against Counterspell because, you know, it's just not a good mana exchange. So I think that's where we want to go. Maybe Force of Negation is actually not very good. It's only good against, like, exactly Manamorphose. Yeah, okay. And then maybe cut the Borrower because it's bad against Dart and just have this as interaction. Yeah, I think I like this setup the best. I think I'd rather have Gust and Abrade than Counterspell because Gust can answer a thing on the battlefield, especially on the draw. Counterspell just seems so bad on the draw against the deck with, you know, 16 1-drops or however much they have. Santa's a very, very fast Regent because we have 2 baubles to cycle. I know it only has 1 land, but we have so many looks at a second land, and I think Regent's our best card in the matchup, so I think I'm willing to keep a hand like this. Okay, it's not bad. Question is, do we want to Delver on 1? So if I Delver on 1 and they kill it, I'll have 1, 2, 3... 3 cards in the graveyard. I actually think I'd rather just Serum Visions on 1. We drew a land. Okay, so how many cards is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I'm keeping both of these. I think we can turn on both of them. And I'm just going to cycle the baubles. I should have waited to cycle the second one, but that was bad. So I could have got more information if I waited to cycle the second one, but and they're choosing to do nothing. Alright, so now I just play 2 creatures. And then next turn we can start regioning. Yeah. Delver first. Channeler. S. Sucks if they have Fire Ice. That would be really bad for me. A Braid. A Braid is fine. That is a good. That is what we call a good mana exchange. Okay, Iteration's good. I don't know if it's better than a Giant Flyer. Mesa entered the exile zone. Okay. Mountain Lava Dart, Soul Scar Mage. Any flips? Oh yeah. Alright, attack. Attack, I'm just going to play another Murktide Regent. I am going to Thought Scour first to maximize the Regent, though. I'm going to thin my deck of a land first. Thought Scour myself. Oops. Regent. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm just going to max out on this Regent, I think. I think it's better. I know they have Soulscar Mage, but they still have to use, like, 3 spells to kill this. Yeah. Murktide Regent is just obscene in a matchup like this. I didn't think I was going to be favored at first because Lava Dart is so good against Delver and Channeler, but it's just nearly impossible for the deck to interact with this card on a meaningful axis. So overall, I guess a favorable matchup with Regent and kind of showcasing the power level of that card. So 2-0. Hope you enjoyed the games, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 3. Alright guys, back here for round number 3. Man, every hand with this deck just looks awesome. Maybe this deck is just great. Shouldn't have 6 with Subtlety. Windswept Heath. So we get to go turn 1, Channeler, Bauble. Is that worth Subtlety? I don't actually think it is. It's close. I think I'm going to fetch first. They could be a Path to Exile. They could be like another Taxes deck. Force of Negation. Is that good? Probably not. I can't imagine Force of Negation is good against turn 1 Giver of Runes. And they have Heliod on top. Okay, so they're doing some kind of they're doing that kind of stuff. I don't know if this matchup is good. Another Subtlety. At least I could pitch the Subtlety to the first one, and then have a turn 2 Channeler online, hold up Counterspell. So I'm basically going to Subtlety almost anything they play. Maybe knowing they have Heliod means I should wait on the Subtlety. I could also Subtlety pitch Iteration on whatever they play this turn. Slam with the Channeler, then hold up Counterspell. Which I think might be the right play. Well, I can't Subtlety that. Oh, wow. Huh. So I can 2-for-1 myself to kill the Giver? I don't think that's worth it. I think I'm going to take this. See what we draw. Unholy Heat. So I could cast Unholy Heat and try and hit a sorcery off of it, because right now I have Artifact, Instant Land, or Creature, I guess, and bin a creature, and then slam for 3. But we know they have Heliod, and I really want to cast Counterspell on Heliod, so I think I'm just going to take it slow here. It sucks if they hold up Collected Company, because then I just time walk myself, because if they just say land go, then I probably can't cast Unholy Heat end step, because they can respawn and cast Collected Company. But if they just cast Heliod, I will slam a Counterspell on this. Don't really want another land. Alright, let's see. What do we want to draw? Ideally, Serum Visions into Counterspell. That's too much to ask, but... because Serum Visions would be a sorcery to turn this on, and then Counterspell would obviously be a good draw. If I brick on a Counterspell, I'm probably just casting Iteration. Because I still have Subtlety up. Doesn't hit Company, but it hits more Heliods and Spike Feeders and that kind of stuff. Alright, let's see what we draw. Or maybe not. Opponent is pausing on our upkeep. Maybe they're admiring the Channeler. Not sure. Maybe my internet disconnected. Did not. Alright, Iteration. I think I'm gonna top that, because it's a card that I kind of want to cast this turn. Okay, so now we just hand the Visions, bottom the turn, exile the Delver, and then cast Delver. So hand Visions, bottom turn, exile Delver. Play this. Attack for 3, hold up Subtlety. And then hopefully we can just Serum Visions into a Counterspell or another removal spell. I feel like this is a good spot for us, but it's tentative. Because we don't have Company covered. I think that's the card that we're most scared about, for sure. And if they cast Collected Company, we're probably not in a good spot. But if they cast just creatures, we have those covered with Subtlety. So this is not a bad spot, for sure. It's just very tentative. But I feel like if they had Company, they would have slammed it last turn or just held up all their mana. So I don't think they had Company last turn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is interesting. They have 2 cards. I think I'm gonna let that go because I can still subtlety a Heliod. I know I can't Unholy Heat it because they have the Giver of Runes in play, but I also think this is fine. Why didn't they lead on Conclave Mentor? They have 1 card in hand. Sure, that's fine. I'm very interested why they didn't lead on Conclave Mentor to get an extra counter on Feeder. It's also probably just better bait, although I'm almost certainly never going to subtlety a Conclave Mentor. Maybe they just didn't know how it worked. Unsure. Let's see what we got. Mishra's Bauble. Alright. So we can Bauble to inform our decision on Serum Visions. Definitely don't want another one of those. I really just want Counterspell or Lightning Bolts. I guess it makes more sense to Bauble them and see what their top card is. Their top card's a Temple Garden. Well, again, we kind of assume they don't have Company, and their top card is not Company, so I think Force of Negation is bad. Right? At least we have the read that they don't have Company, and I'm going to stick to that read. Neither of those flip Delver. So I think we bottom both of them. Play another Bauble. And then if the top card is now a Counterspell, we can sack the Bauble now to draw, because I really want to draw the Counterspell. And then probably just kill this. It does flip Delver, so I think I will top it. Play Fiery Islet, attack for 3, and then pass. So they go to 9. Oh, right, we had already sacked the Bauble. Forgot about that. Okay. It's not as good then. I forgot that we started the turn by sacking a Bauble. So we're not flipping Delver. I mean, I still think Iteration's a good draw, but it just means we're not flipping Delver necessarily. We have a Ballista. So we know they have Temple Garden. This is really tough. They're at 9. This Giver of Runes is, I think, the big issue here. Just making things very, very awkward. Alright, I think the way that we get the most information is sacking the Islet first. And then potentially bobbling ourselves to see what's on top. And then we can inform our decision of whether or not we want a Subtlety. That's a good draw. So let's bobble ourselves. See what the top card is. This has been a tough game to navigate. But now the most important thing is I can kill both of these. And there's a Murktide on top, which is a good draw. Alright, I'm going to respond. I guess there's no reason to respond. Let that resolve. So they're going to go Temple Garden, make this thing bigger. I'm going to end step, kill the Giver, untap, Unholy Heat the Spike Feeder, because they can make this a 4/4? Pay 2, remove a counter. Oh, really? Well, that's way better for me, that they're not putting counters in the feeder. But that is perfectly fine. So maybe they're just gonna try and beat us down. 11. Are they just dead? 11, 3, 6, 79. They're dead if we draw a Bolt, because they can only gain 4 this turn. Go to 11. If we flip Delver, they take 6, go to 5, and then the second Bolt kills them. And because the Spike Feeder is only a 2/2, I can Unholy Heat this, and then still hold up Bolt for this. So I'm going to Unholy Heat the Giver end step, and that means if I draw Bolt, I get to keep the other Bolts in hand, so I still have lethal. So, Unholy Heat this. I think I'm still going to top the Regent, because I think it is still good. So, draw the Regent, then flip off Delver. I'm pretty sure Regent's a good draw, because it's just lethal by itself. Oh, well, okay, or they're just dead. Wow. It was a really close game. Bolt, yeah. Graveyard. Bolt, yeah. Bolt, yeah. Alright, dead. Game number 2. I think I may have navigated a couple of those turns a little bit poorly, but... Alright, Aether Gust good against Collected Company, and... Targets Spike Feeder, targets Company, targets Mentor... There's not a ton of targets, but I think it's good. Force of Negation, I think, is quite bad. It only hits Company, basically. Abrade and Borrower. I think I might just, like, sideboard kind of similar as to what I did in the last matchup, just interaction. But I think Counterspell is actually good in this matchup. So what's bad? Maybe shave a Bauble or 2. Maybe the Subtleties are bad. I mean, if there's a matchup where Subtlety's good, it's got to be this one, right? Maybe I don't want all the Gusts, because they don't have a ton of targets for it. Maybe second Bauble. Alright, let's try this. I guess the argument for cutting Counterspell is it's bad against Veil of Summer, which they're certainly going to bring in. But I don't know. I think it's okay. It's still pretty important because the thing about Counterspell in this matchup is they have a lot of 3 and 4 mana cards that are very powerful. They have Heliod, they have Ranger Captain, they have Spike Feeder, they have Skyclave Apparition and Collecting Company, and Counterspell trades up on mana on all 5 of those exchanges. And I think that is where, like, those matchups where they have a ton of cards that cost 3 or more, that's where Counterspell really shines. So, because you're just getting a very, very good mana exchange most of the time. And even though it's like a little clunky at times, I think it is worth it. And I think in a general sense, those are the cards you lose to more often are the 3 and 4 mana cards. You know, like they're not really racing you with their Auriok Champions and Conclave Mentors, so. Ballista is another card that's good against, or Counterspell is good against. It is worth noting that this deck has no outs to remove an Auriok Champion from the battlefield outside of Subtlety. Well, that doesn't do it on the battlefield. It when it's on the stack, but this hand doesn't have a threat, but we have a cantrip, 2 removal spells, and a bauble. I think this hand is a keeper. And we have sort of free interaction with Subtlety. It's not the most efficient interaction, but it is interaction nonetheless. And I think I'm going to bauble them before playing Serum Visions to inform my decision on what I want to top or bottom, potentially. Like, I know I'm going to look for a threat either way, but I guess there's really not a ton of reason to do that. Yeah, no, there's no point in doing that. So we drew an iteration. I don't really think I want another counterspell. I do have to keep a land. And then I'm just going to bauble them down to cycle this to try and find a threat for next turn. They have a forest on top. I think I'm just going to let that go, given how much interaction I have for the rest of their stuff. Like, obviously I could Subtlety it, but it just kind of feels bad. I think this might be a game where I try and hardcast Subtlety, if I'm being completely honest. I really want to draw a land next turn, because I don't want to have to cast Expressive Iteration to hit a land. Because I want to hold up Counterspell the whole time. So if I draw a land, I just go land, go. Next turn, I can Iteration into a land, hold up Counterspell. Which I think ends up being a lot better for me. But again, Subtlety covers pretty much everything that's not company anyways, so even if I have to tap out, I can then Subtlety something and then hold up Counterspell the turn after. But I think the main reason I want to wait on Subtlety is because I kind of want to hardcast it, given I have no threats, you know? And honestly, the champion is good, and we can't kill it, but we can kill everything else they play, so I don't really know how much we're concerned with it, given how much removal we have. Yeah, that is not resolving. Okay, well that's good for me now that they let me use my mana. So now I'm just going to cast Iteration, try and find a 1-mana card. Perfect. So, hand the Regent, bottom the land, exile the Delver, play the Delver. That worked out pretty well. We found another threat for next turn, and we still have Subtlety up this turn if we absolutely have to. Can't Subtlety that. That's bad. Hopefully this is a medium company. Okay, it's even worse than a medium company. Alright, now I feel pretty favored. It's not a spell, however, that allows us to play Regent and hold up Gusts. So I'm going to do that. Should I offer the trade with Delver? I guess. I don't even know if it's a good trade, but they're never taking the trade, so given how high their life total is. I'm not going to say this game is unlosable, because I've certainly lost games from better positions, but I would say it's pretty close to unlosable. They only have 1 green mana up, so I can just kill it. Sure. Had they not played a land that turn? Okay, I should have killed it with the Aurak trigger on the stack. I didn't realize they didn't play a land that turn. There's no reason to exile because they just have to pay a life to gain a life. But yeah, I messed up a little bit there. I should have killed it with the trigger on the stack so they couldn't play their land after. Okay, this doesn't make a ton of sense. I don't know why they would do that. They paid a life to gain a life, and they also made future scavenging uses worse. A block. They have path. Sure. It's annoying, but it's not that bad. You can just hardcast Subtlety at this point. What's this? Fiery Outlet? No. Draw card. Interesting. They're at 20. I'm going to take it a little bit slower and just try and... Okay, that's what I wanted to draw. I guess I don't have Gust up now, but... Okay, it's fine. We do still have Subtlety up. That doesn't really matter. I'm just going to kill it. Alright, so they gain 3. Alright, any flips? Reveal. Okay, you got me. Delver's been pathed. What do we reveal? Is that another Delver? Oh, Dragon's Rage Channeler. No. No. It's a good draw, though. I don't even want to attack. I don't want to make that trade. Well, we're kind of flooding out a little bit here. Major Ballista. It's not great for me. I will cast Subtlety. Which I assume they're going to top it. Hopefully we just draw Counterspell. I assume they're topping this, right? It's got to be a good draw. Wow, they bottomed it? Weird. Expressive Iteration. Okay, that's... I lied. That's the best draw on the deck. Top just in case I miss on spells. Alright. I want all of these. So there's 2 spells, plus this is 3. So ship the Channeler. Hand this. Bottom this. Exile this. Cast Visions. Top this. I guess I will keep both of these. And now I'm just going to hold up Counterspell. Now that I have drawn the Counterspell, now I think I'm okay to declare this one. It was close to unlosable before. We drew a couple lands in a row. Now that we've drawn the Counterspell, with them being Hellbent, I think we are fine. I could play Regent, but there's kind of no reason to. Just hold up Counterspell. Next turn, play Regent, hold up Counterspell, and Gusts. We're on instant land sorcery, so we need artifact or creature. Alright, they drew a land. It's probably not going to do it. I'll take one. I will take one. Top. Bottom, top. 7, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go. Alright, they have no cards. We have a Counterspell. I think we are about to be... Is this round 3? 3-0. 3-0 with Blue-Red Delver. Don't call it a comeback. I don't know why I'm casting spells, but... And... Alright, take 14. Alright. 3-0 with Blue-Red Delver. YouTube. Like I said, don't call it a comeback. See you in just a little bit. Round number 4. YouTube, round 4 time. We are, remember, we're 3-0. Blue-Red Delver. Don't worry, it's not Legacy. I promise. Hand's great. Every hand just looks awesome. I mean, to be fair, we've had a turn 1 creature a lot of the time, but... Alright, let's get Steam Vents. Delverino. It's been a while since I've played Delver of Secrets, and boy does it feel good. Counterspell, don't mind if I do. I'm gonna fetch now. Alright, Counterspell. What's up? They also know we have Counterspell. Doesn't make it any more easy for them to play around, but... What is this? Dothy Voidwalker. Don't particularly care about that. I'm just going to kill it. So we get to Unholy Heat this. Oh. Alright, hold on a second, YouTube. I'm going to pause the video. Apparently we've encountered an error. Hopefully, when we come back, there's no more errors. Just a second. Alright, YouTube, my sincerest apologies. Apparently... I went to log out of Magic Online, and I turned it back on, or, well, when I logged out and tried to open the program back up, apparently there was just, like, an update. They don't usually do updates like that, so I don't know if it was, I don't know what happened there. But anyways, we're back. We killed their thing, we cast Thought Scour, still have Counterspell. Not really sure what happened there. Alright, we're just looking for more Counterspells, more threats. I think I'm not going to play Regent, because I have 4 mana, which means next turn I can just go Regent, hold up, Counterspell. I think I'm bottoming both of these. Just pass. Yeah, not really sure what happened. Some kind of update, but we should be back. Hopefully, no more unexpected updates. I mean, they're just going to take the Counterspell. But I want to protect the Regent, I think. I think that's worth it. Now, if they, like, kill this, we can iteration into Regent. I guess they could have Dam. We got Batterskull. Alright, shove for 3, they go to 11. We do representing lethal next turn. I think I'm still going to iteration here, because I kind of want to find a removal spell for the or for the Stoneforge. Although I don't know that I would rather play removal spell than Regent. So I'm casting Regent this turn, which means I guess I would rather have the Force in my hand. So hand the Force, bottom the Delver, exile the land. Play land, get basic. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think sorcery is harder to come by than instant, especially because we have an instant in our hand. Well, they are dead if they don't have removal, but I assume they have a removal spell. Although, I wonder if they had a removal spell, would they have played it over Stoneforge last turn? I don't know. Like Vindicate, probably. Yeah. Well, removal spell on Stoneforge still plays. I think we're going to Vision first. How about another Regent? That also kind of plays. Because we can cycle into it with the Islet. Yeah. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shove for 3. They go to 8. Still have lethal. Now, it sucks if they have untap land, Vindicate, hold up Batterskull. That's worst case scenario for us. But they have push. They have push Liliana. Jeez, that's bad. I think we may have found our match. Or met our match. This is not good for us. Okay, I'm going to crack Isla to inform what I should be bolting here. They're at 8. This is really awkward. If I bolt the Stoneforge and they draw a land, they just play Batterskull. If I... Because I could bolt Stoneforge, bolt Liliana, pass, then they just go land Batterskull, and then I'm in really bad shape. They didn't have a land last turn. Because if they had a land last turn, they probably would have just Lily plus Batterskull. So if they don't draw land, that line is not bad. But if I bolt, and they draw land, I pretty much lose the game on the spot. But if I dodge one turn, then I can hold up Force for the Batterskull the turn after. They could have another Stoneforge in their hand, which would also make that line bad. I'm trying to think if I just want to hold them and try and spike a third bolt. It's so unlikely I draw a third bolt, but... I could split the difference, bolt the Stoneforge, but not the Liliana. Maybe that's actually best, because I don't really care about this extra land, and I can always bolt the Liliana next turn. Okay. I think I'm down with that. Because I don't mind trade. Basically, it's like the decision of I don't mind trading a Spire Bluff Canal for a random card in their hand, because the Canal just doesn't really do anything for me. So, I think that's okay. I discarded Souls. They might just not jam the Batterskull because they're worried about Counterspell. Oh. So what am I bolting? Now I guess I just bolt the Liliana and hope to draw a threat. Like, another Murktide probably ends this game. But it would be our third Murktide. And the last card's Batterskull. I doubt that's going to be good enough. It's not a bad card, but... like, they just get to play Batterskull here. Maybe if we flip... I think if we flip into the third Unholy Heat, maybe we're in okay shape. Well, Iteration's definitely a good start. How about Subtlety? Subtlety doesn't do anything, so... hand, bottom, exile... One turn too late, so 4. We take 7, go to 3, play Regent. They go back up to 8. So I guess we just trade here. They go to 11, then we slam Regent. We go to 6. Play Regent, they don't attack with Batterskull. They're at 11. Next turn we 8 them. They go to 3. Then they attack. We go to 3. They go to 7. And then we have lethal. So if they have... If their card is a land and they draw 2 more lands, then we win, I think. Well, I guess they could also just equip the Turok, right? But that's bad if I drew a bolt. Okay. This is what I need them to do. Oh, they also have Souls. Does that change things? It does, because they have infinite blockers for Regent. Okay, well. No, we don't have any outs. Alright, game 2. I think that was a pretty close game that we weren't that far away from winning. But the turn they played Liliana was a beating. Alright, Force of Negation, very bad against the pile of discard spells, so that's an easy swap for a Braid. I think Blood Moon's bad. I'm not a fan of Soul Guide, because, like, yeah, they have Lingering Souls, but at the same time, they also have Stoneforge Mystic and Liliana. They have other threats that don't use the graveyard. Gust has no targets. Flusterstorm is not bad. Like, I think these two are okay, and I think I just want to cut all of the cards that allow me that 2-for-1 myself, because 2-for-1ing yourself against a Thoughtseize deck is not where you want to be. So I like this setup. I don't know if this matchup should be favorable. I think we're a little bit behind, but I don't think we're super far behind. Because they have a lot of clunky cards, right? They have like Vindicate and Liliana and Kick Torok. They have a lot of 3 and 4 mana cards that just do not line up well against the card Counterspell. So I think the matchup seems close. All right, we will play first. Sounds really good. Question is, what am I leading on? I think I'm leading on Delver. And I think I'm also going to play the Bauble to give me max chances to flip Delver. I know that I lose a card off the Channeler, which might not be worth it, but given how much removal they have, it's very unlikely that I'm going to be connecting with Channeler anyways. That's kind of my theory behind it. Okay, well now I could just save the Bauble, right? Yeah. Because I can Bauble trick myself with the fetch. Now we're not doing that because I'm just going to play 2 Channelers. They have a Liliana on top, which, again, it's a 3-mana card, and we can just hold up Counterspell the turn after. We have a Thoughtseize. Okay. So we are on Creature, Artifact, Land. So instant pumps up the Channelers. They got Cauldra Complete. Oh, so best possible. Graveyard. Top. Now we have 2 3/3s with a Counterspell up. Feeling pretty good. And they can't even cast Liliana. I'm going to float mana so I can Thought Scour and hold up Counterspell. Does kind of suck that they're shuffling away the Regent, but it shouldn't matter too much. Alright, use the mana floating. Still have Counterspell up. Graveyard. Top, but probably don't cast. I'm just going to snap Counterspell that. Oh, but I'm milling myself, right? So it doesn't matter. I'm just going to graveyard all this stuff. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Right. I guess I should have Thought Scoured them, huh? Graveyard. I just want to find a threat. Yeah, I'm good with that. I guess I can top and then iteration into Flusterstorm next turn. So they go to 7, and then we have lethal. I guess they could have Dam. But it's Dam or busts. Liliana's not going to cut it. Unless they have, like, Liliana plus push, and they get to survive at 1. Nope, because they have a land that deals them damage. Alright. Alright. Game 3. On the play. I think it's pretty straightforward sideboarding, so nothing changing. Let's see what we got. Can we get to 4-0? I'm not in love with this hand, but I also don't like mulliganing against a deck that is so heavily reliant on resources. And we have... Our hand is, like, kind of Thoughtseize proof. I mean, they can take Counterspell, but then the rest of our hand is just so good. So, yeah, we don't have a threat, but we could play a bit of a longer game. At least try to. This hand does kind of get punked if they just, like, take my Counterspell and slam a Liliana, but we have answers to Stoneforge, so we don't really care about that. It's a Counterspell, makes sense. 1-drop. Alright, it's a spell I can cast. I'll take it. It's not a 1-mana creature, but it is still a spell I can cast. They have Voidwalker, which I don't particularly care about because I have a Braid. This is what caused the interaction last time. I wonder if there's a bug with Unholy Heat and Voidwalker, and if it's going to crash the game again. Well, let's find out, because I want to go Heat into Serum Visions. Oh, we did not crash the game this time. So it must have just been some kind of, update. Alright, Druid Delver, which is not bad. Liliana is an issue. I think I just have to play as if they don't have it. Because I don't really have the good answer if they have Liliana, and I just want to... I think I want to top both of these. And I want to draw the Islet and then flip the Delver with Flusterstorm. I don't mind having a third land when I have 2 iterations in my hand. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I guess I could also just go iteration and hold up Flusterstorm, or iteration and play Delver. Now I could just Delver plus a Braid. That's good. Yeah, Batterskull makes sense. We'll Braid that. Play Delver. They know about the second Braid. They have Thoughtseize. Alright, so now they probably take a Braid. Which is not great for us. Because we know they have Batterskull. We have a Flusterstorm on top. Do they also have a Liliana? Please no. Just let it be Vindicate. That I'm less concerned with. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not great for us, but... okay, hand, bottom, exile. I guess I'll just get an island off this. Okay, now they play Batterskull. Regent does line up somewhat nicely against Batterskull. So, there is that. Okay, that card doesn't really matter that much. I guess they can equip it with Batterskull, but... oh, they had a tap land. And they're at 15. Oh. So we actually just win this game if they brick. So I just play Regent, hold up... is there any reason to hold up Flusterstorm? Yeah, because if they draw exactly Vindicate, I can bolt them and fluster the Vindicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, 2-turn clock. Here go. I guess they could gain 2 life here and go to 17 and theoretically not die. Don't tell me they drew Liliana. Well, that would be a shame. They're just casting Batterskull. That's fine. It's exactly a 2-turn clock because we have Regent, 2 Regent attacks plus the Bolt. So they can go to 19, but we have 19. Do I want to sack the Islets? I think I do. Dragon's Rage Channeler. This is a replacement effect, right? Yeah, okay, so it doesn't work with Lightning Bolt. Because, like, the way this is worded, whenever an instant sorcery spell leaves your graveyard, put a counter on it. It doesn't work with this. Because this is instead, so there's no trigger where it goes to happen. So I can go Iteration, Channeler, hold up Fluster, or I can just Channeler, hold up Bolt Fluster in case they draw Vindicate. Let's attack first. They have 1 card. Do we play Iteration? No, because I want to hold up Bolt in case they go to equip this. I think that makes more sense. No, we are representing lethal. The nice thing about this is... okay, they're just going to attacks. No blocks. Alright, I have 11. Hopefully their spell is Vindicate. Maybe an Overloaded Dam. Nice! 4-0. Blue-Red Delver. Man, this deck's felt pretty good so far. Yeah, I'm very, very impressed with this card. I think this is one of those cards that when it was spoiled, everybody kind of looked towards and they were trying to put this into blue-red decks, and I think this is definitely an upgrade for these Delver-style decks. So if you are a fan of that, definitely a good deck. So 4-0. Let's see if we can get that elusive 5-0. See you back in just a little bit. Round number 5. All right, YouTube. Can we do the unthinkable? 5-0 Modern Blue-Red Delver. We're on the draw. We have a lot of lands, but we have 2 fetch lands, 2 cantrips, and a Regent. I think this hand is just close to good enough. So we're getting amuleted. I think it's actually better for me to turn on 1, so I have more cards in my graveyard for Regents. Amulet's probably a horrendous matchup. Do I want bolts? I don't think I do. I just want to find a threat. Well, a 1-mana threat, preferably. Shouldn't have 6. They play Amulet. I think I have to force it. Just pitch Visions. Yeah, I have to buy time. It really sucks because, like, I just have nothing left. I have all lands, but I do have a turn 3 Regent, turn 3 5/5 flyer. Maybe that's good enough? Probably not, but cantrip or threat would be good this turn. I guess Counterspell is probably one of my better draws, so I can counter whatever they do the next turn. I like the Plan Attack. Worst of Negation, probably not a good draw. I'm playing Tarn here so I can fetch, and then next turn fetch again and have Regent with 1 mana available in case I draw a Delver, a Channeler, a Cantrip. Alright, there's the Garden. Alright, let's get the other Steam Vents. Alright, Bolt is interesting. Do I want to bolt them? It feels like unnecessarily aggressive. Because it puts them to 17 and it gives me a 6/6. Which is theoretically 17 and a 6/6 Channeler is a 3-turn clock as opposed to a 5/5 with a bolt. That would only be 18 over the course of 3 turns. But if they play Azusa, I'm going to regret not having the bolt, so I think I'm just going to keep the bolts. 2, 3. I'm going to hold up the bolt, though, in case they have Azusa. And then if they play a land that has a triggered ability, I can then kill the Azusa with the trigger on the stack. So I think it's worth keeping the bolt instead of a random land in our graveyard. Now, of course, they have Dryad, which cannot get bolted. Hopefully their card is packed and not actual Primeval Titan, because then we have a chance. But if they have Titan rolled up and not packed, then we're probably in a bad spot. Alright, chunk for 5. Play Channeler. Play Island to hold up Hardcast Force. Alright, please play Pact. Play Pact and have no other Titans. That is my one way out of this. Alright, well, that's step 1. They could have another Pact, I guess, but... Graveyard. Do they have a second Pact? They do. That's bad. And they can just get 2 Valakuts. If they play an untapped land, I'm just going to scoop. Alright, yeah, we're off it. Game 1 is really rough, unless we have a super aggressive draw. However, we have 3 Blood Moons and 3 Gusts, so I feel like the post-board games should be highly favorable. I think Force doesn't hit enough stuff. Abrade is also a consideration for Amulet, but if we have Blood Moon, Amulet doesn't really do anything anyways. Unholy Heat is probably not something I want. Maybe Unholy Heat's better than Bolt, because Unholy Heat kills Primeval Titan by itself. I like Subtlety. I want to keep all the threats. I want to keep the iterations. I guess I could go down on, like, a Bolt and an iteration, or a Bauble and iteration, keep in a couple of Bolts. Just to have access to. I could bring in Brazen Borrower, but it's kind of clunky. Let's do this. I like this. I feel like our post-board matchup has to be highly favorable with 3 Moon, 3 Gusts. We shall see. Remember, playing for the 5-0. I'm just going to pull up the deck list real quick. Delver. Alright, game 2 time. I can see more bolts. I just like that Unholy Heat kills both Dryad and Primeval Titan, where Bolt doesn't touch either of them. So that's why I think I want to keep all the Unholy Heats. I think that makes sense to me. Could also cut more baubles. But if we're keeping in the Heats, and we're keeping in all of our Delirium cards, I think I want to keep the baubles. Could also see going down a Regent when I'm cutting a bauble, but I'm going to go with this. See how this goes. Alright, opponent is currently sideboarding. Deep in the tank. Alright, game 2. Let's go. I have Delver Gust. I keep. Hand is great. I'm going to get Island because of Blood Moon. I want to be able to get two blue sources so I can go Island into Islet. Because I need to make sure I have 2 islands with Blood Moon for counterspell purposes. So. Can have an amulet. That's fine. Channeler. Not the best draw. And I'm going to be sad if they have explosives. Please do not explosives me. I think I still have to jam my stuff, right? They don't have that many explosives. Usually like 2 copies. Okay. Alright, no explosives. Serum Visions? Don't mind if I do. Alright, so land. Let's fetch before casting Serum Visions, in case I want to keep the Scries. I'll top that for sure. Now I have Counterspell and Gust. Now I feel pretty safe. I'm going to top both of these because I can counter or gust whatever they do this turn. Next turn, iteration into land 4, hold up the other one. So I think this should be good enough. Because we just have a 2-turn clock with the bolt and 2 counter spells, so I don't really know what they could do to get out of this. Alright, if they cast Primeval Titan, I'm just gonna counter it, I think. And hold the gusts. No, it's actually probably better to gust, because if I use the counterspell... this is worse if they have Veil next turn, but the newer amulet lists don't usually play Veil. But if I use the counterspell, then they draw explosives, it's a lot worse for me, right? So that's why I think I needed to do it this way. Right? Because if I counterspell, I get around Veil, but I don't get around them drawing explosives, right? I'm not sure what's correct. Can't get on the Dryad attack. Alright, we're looking for sorcery land instants. We need artifact or creature. I'm going to top this because I just need to hit a land. I don't need to hit another red source, though. I guess it's probably better than the 3rd island. So... hand this, bottom this, exile this, play this, attack for 6. And then we have counterspell. I'm going to get very punished if they have Veil, though. Well, they're choosing to cast Titan first, so they don't have Veil. So we should be fine. Alright. Graveyard. Delver's game 3. Game 3 for all the marbles. So this is the cards that we cut that I wasn't 100% sure on. And these are the cards that we were considering. Right. So I'm just double checking our sideboarding to make sure everything looks good. Not sure if that's the right number of bolts and heats. That's the one thing I'm kind of unsure of. I think I want all the counter spells. I could see maybe going down another iteration, because maybe we just don't have enough time for that kind of thing. What would I want instead of a third iteration? Either a third bolt or maybe the borrower. A braid still, I think, is kind of mopey. It's only good against amulet. A third bolt or third... Like, the thing about iteration on the draw is I just don't really think I'm going to have time for that. So I think I'd rather just have another burn spell to finish them off. Again, bolt doesn't really kill any of their creatures, but... Alright. We have Subtlety. We have Delver Cantrip. Subtlety is kind of like a free Aether Gust. I'm going to keep it. This hand might be a little loose, but... Oh no, the Grazer. Not the Grazer. That's actually pretty bad for me. Another Subtlety. That plays. So I think I Delver first. Another Subtlety is not the worst. I will say that. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's good against Cavern. Any flips? Any flips? Any flips? Alright, Thought Scour. Well, let's attack first. See what they do. I assume they're blocking. The question is, do we want to cast Channeler? Or do we want to Thought Scour or Vision first to try and hit a land? I think I'm going to Thought Scour first, because hitting a land here is really good. And it also puts card in our graveyard for Regent. Did not hit a land, which is unfortunate. I don't know if these Delvers are going to be able to race the constructs, because they're going to be 3/3s when they get the second amulet. Regent does block them nicely, though, so there is that. Because they sack the Saga, get amulet. Oh, they got map. I'm surprised that they got map. And they bounced forests. Okay, take 3. Wonder why they would get map instead of amulet. Land is not bad. So I can just play 2 creatures. It's probably better to just play some cantrips here. Take a thumping for 6. Then next turn, after I double cantrip, I can then play Regent. So let's just do that, I guess. Ooh, Unholy Heat is a welcome addition. So bottom the 4th land, top the Heat. Now I can just play Delver. Then next turn I can go Unholy Heat one of these. Will I have 4 card types? No, I won't. Unless I get to cast Subtlety this turn. So I'm going to be short on card types. I could play... Well, knowing that we have a spell on top, I kind of have to play Delver. So I'm going to play Delver. And hopefully they give me... I think I will Subtlety almost anything here, because of how good it is with the top card of our deck. So I think I'm down to Subtlety basically any card. Alright, I'll take 6. I think we can race random construct beats, especially because we're going to play this next turn. Oh. Well, that sucks. Didn't think about that one. Okay. That makes things awkward. So 3, 6, 10. Alright, attack for 6. I'm definitely not blocking with Delvers. So I think I'm going to play Channeler into Visions. Yeah. Hold up red mana. If I can somehow turn on Delirium, this is lethal. Sorcery, instant, creature, so fetch land is lethal, right? If they do nothing. Oh. Those are both really good. I'm at 11. Well, the fetch land is lethal, so I'm just going to do it this way, I think. Let's see what they do. They may also sack the map this turn. Yeah, they're doing that. Okay. What are they getting? Not sure. Maybe another Saga. Another Saga's going to be too slow, though. Now they don't even have a 2-turn lethal, right? 4. Yeah, because if they go 4 this turn, 6 next turn, and we also have the heat, so we can kill a construct next turn. Because next turn we can go fetch land, subtlety, pitch, subtlety, bolt, and that gets us to 4 card types. 9 plus the bolt. If they have some removal spell, we can then unholy heat one of the constructs and still, easily survive the turn after. I mean, obviously it's a bit all in, but it depends on what they do. Not really sure what they could have. It's like if they had something like a Dismember or a Run Afoul or an Explosives, they would have already cast it. They could draw Explosives. If they draw Explosives, I'm still probably going to lose, but... Black mana. Oh my god, they drew Explosives. No. It's so bad. Alright, I guess I'll kill one of these in response because it gets smaller. I guess now I can just bin the Tarn and slam Blood Moon, right? Yeah, we just... Oh no, I have to top it because I need my second blue to be able to play Regent. I think it's fine though. Alright, you have an Explosives. So they had that last turn? No, they had to have just drawn that, because they would have obviously played it last turn. Okay. So now I can just play Regent, hold up Subtlety, turn after Blood Moon. I think we're still going to win this game. Question is, am I bolting them? They go to 7 and I get a 6/6 Regent. As opposed to a 5/5 Regent. The nice thing about a 6/6 Regent, it gets around Dismember. So I think it's worth it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Play Tarn, pass. Because the whole reason I couldn't slam the Blood Moon that turn is because then I wouldn't have had double blue to play the Regent the turn after, Sure, that's fine. So now they get packed. Well, we should be good now. Because they go to 1 and then we play Blood Moon. Unless I didn't bottom the Blood Moon, right? I was like, I'm pretty sure I kept the Blood Moon. Alright. think we're good. I think we're about to 5-0 with Blue-Red Delver. Navigated this game pretty well, I think. Got lucky and dodged the explosives for long enough. I think we should be good. All right. 5-0. Blue-Red Delver. I'll take a little screenshot here so I can post that to the Twitter, which, by the way, if you want to go ahead and follow the Twitter, I will drop a link in the description below. So yeah, let's do this real quick. Talk about the deck. All right, Blue-Red Delver. Deck felt awesome. I wasn't overly impressed with main deck Subtlety. I think it's more of a sideboard card. It's not the best in a lot of matchups. Force of Negation, another card that I'm a little skeptical of. Unholy Heat was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Counterspell, again, a lot better than I thought it was going to be. My initial Delver list did not have them. So, yeah, awesome deck. If you enjoy playing Delver, I think this deck is the real deal. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of Blue-Red Delver. And with that, I will see you in the next one.